the aftermath of Misfits 14. Overall, a great success, I think. Fun event.
Awesome
Yep.
event. It was sick.
Yeah, very, very entertaining. It's just really exciting moments.
We already have almost
I
1 million views on the highlights
I,
for the card.
I
Sick.
know, I know. Um, it's yeah, I think it was good. Good fights, good action, good storytelling. We have a new star. We have a couple of new stars. Amadeus Ferrari. Um, he's called me a bunch of times since then. He's like, "Look, I'm gonna take training seriously." He's like, "Look, what we do in Poland is we do other things, and then when we're about to fight, we put a few weeks of training in, and that's it. But these guys take it seriously. They fight. They train all the time." I said, "Some of them do, you know." So he's like, "I'm gonna start doing that now."
He
And
impressed me like, in terms of his ability. When I watched him in his MMA fights, I thought he's going to swing like a lunatic, um, and that'll be the end of him. Pappy will catch him, right? But to be fair, he's a real tough kid, and he was throwing bombs the whole entire time, and it lasted a lot longer than I thought it would. And I also think Pappy fighting fire with fire helped it. So yeah, good on him. He definitely brought a lot through fight week as well. I think Leon's been calling for this energy on many of these calls. Bring the heat, and he brought it.
he brought it, and you know, people say like, "Oh, he lacked cardio." I don't think you can go 100% for 3 rounds, pretty much, maybe two and a half at least, without having some serious cardio. You know,
Nobody can do that.
No one.
Nobody can do
no,
No
that.
one.
and he tried
Hmm.
to, and in his defense, so he was telling me, I said, "Why didn't you pace yourself just a little bit? Like it was exciting for viewers, but why didn't you pace yourself?" And he said, "Because the referee took a point from me. He gave a knockdown which he shouldn't have given, which I might agree with that." And he's like, I had urgency to knock out Salt Pappy, so I was just headhunting and trying to knock him out. So yeah, we've got a star in Amadeus Ferrari for sure. Viewing figures are great. The zone are very happy. Everyone's happy, um, and might be the most viewed. We'll get confirmation on that later. Salt Pappy, he got the victory.
Yeah.
There's mixed feelings about the victory. Did he do enough to redeem himself from his previous losses, or does he still have more to prove?
He's got a lot more to prove. He looks like he's going backwards slightly.
I
Do you
want
think
I
I,
that's
want
I
to say
agree.
backwards. He had to play the card
Performance-wise,
that he was dealt with.
performance-wise, he's going backwards.
If we look at the Josh Bruckner fight, all right, Josh Bruckner was nowhere near as crazy as this geezer was, and he was a lot easier at the time. And I think part of the going at Saul Pappy was hard for him to deal with. But I felt like the devastating counter puncher that we've witnessed, it gone. He was a bit more of a brawler in there, a bit like it was more like the way he fought Slim, which I think we were hoping he wouldn't do. We were hoping we would show something else.
I don't know.
I spoke?
I don't know if I totally agree with you guys on the level of maybe the expectation around Saul Poppy, like what he's actually ever been capable of. Because styles make fights. I mean, Amadeus Ferrari was minimum 20 clean pounds of muscle heavier than Saul Poppy. He was going head first towards him, literally smashing his head into Saul Poppy's head. Like that's what caused the cut. And
Yeah.
at what point do you have to? And also, we're looking at a fighter that's under a insane level of assault, and he has to go, all right, how do I get the respect here? Maybe I have to kind of clash in with him and let him know that he can't just bully me around the ring. If he's not able to find that shot, which he wasn't, because Ferrari is coming in head first. It's really hard to find that counter shot that's going to do anything other than bounce off the forehead when you're diving in like that. And so I kind of got it a little bit. Now, like I think he could have done better. I totally agree with you guys. I think he kind of bit into Ferrari's game a little bit as well. But I wasn't. I think it just showed a different level of him that, hey man, he can hang in there a little bit and he can tangle and tussle and sometimes, get headbutt and then get cracked and have a guy drive his shin into him, and it showed a lot of different aspects. I mean, if I was a fighter and I have a guy who's fighting like Ferrari's fighting, I'd probably get irritated too. Honestly, I'm not going to be able to have that like slick style. So I see what you guys are saying, but do I think it was some like some people seem like they're saying it's like it was like objectively a poor performance, and I don't know if I agree with that. That's all
I
I'm saying.
wouldn't say it was
I think he
poor.
did well.
I definitely wouldn't say it was poor, and I will give him credit in that if we've raised questions about like his opponent potentially coming up in King Kenny, we've thought like if someone roughs him up, is he willing to stand there and fight fire with fire? Because sometimes you do have to do that. And I do think Sol Papi answered a question in that regard. I just think I thought it would have been a little bit better, but yeah, I definitely want to give him props. Like it wasn't an easy fight, and I am impressed to some degree. Yeah,
I'll give him a
I
D
just-
minus. I'll give him a D minus for that performance.
That's harsh. That's
Especially when
harsh.
we're talking about super or superstar, there needs to be an aspect of clean technique, a display of good defense. Ferrari, we knew how he was going to come. It was written on the tin,
yeah.
so we should have been able to deal with that a lot more better, especially being in a southpaw stance. So yeah,
I feel like technically, I'll be honest. When you look at Sol Papi when we first seen him, we all agree this kid is a natural. Like it's staggering how quickly he looked at a level above everyone else. And it just feels like that natural ability should have progressed a little bit more, given how long he's been training now, technically. That's all I'm thinking.
I would like him to be more defensive responsible. His defense is bad. But obviously, ego. It was ego that got into play. So
we were worried. We were worried that Amadeus Ferrari had drawn out and challenged Salt's ego, and got him in his head a little bit, and he did, didn't he?
Yeah,
he did for that fight. There were parts of it, but I spoke to Coach Sol for a good amount of time, and Coach said, "Look, he went totally against the game plan. You know, and the game plan wasn't to fight fire with fire."
Yeah,
but
I
Salt,
do like that. All Misfits fighters seem to do that. Apart from Julie, all Misfits fighters seem to do that.
Now,
At the end of the day,
Ferrari with that back of fighting off the back foot, I think she'd have done well.
Yeah,
she would have
I
done
have
him
to give
over.
it.
She would have
I have
battered
to
him.
give Assault an A plus. I mean, he had the entire arena chanting his name. What other misfit fighter, has that going for him? Super entertaining, exciting. I feel like if you watch the whole event for that main event, you got your money's worth. Like it was great. It was absolutely great.
Yeah, I'm
think
happy that
I think you
Keem is
definitely got
totally
your money's worth.
unbiased too. Yeah, I'm just happy that Keem's so unbiased towards this guy. but no, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think that the money was there and the entertainment was there for sure. But I agree with Leon in the perspective that the performance and the skill set that we know he has wasn't activated in the way that it could have been. I'm kind of in between both of you guys. I think it was phenomenal as far as like entertainment goes, but I just know that Sol Papi has more capability than that. And then I'll also give Ferrari credit where I think he gives a lot of guys trouble. I think he gives a lot of guys at the top trouble, right? How many? Because there was one shot that I remember I was standing there and it went clean across Sol Papi's chin, like clean, like overhand right.
He got wobbled.
Yeah. But a lot of guys on the roster are sitting down from that punch and maybe not getting up. So
Agreed.
So stuff. I definitely give him a lot of credit there. But I agree with you, Leon, that it could have been crisper. But that's the thing is sometimes we misremember who we're talking about here, right? These aren't high-level pro fighters. And that's probably one of the biggest differences between a high-level pro fighter and a more amateur level fighter is sometimes they don't know how to maintain that dog in them. I mean, we even see that at high-level professional world championship fights where guys will lose their own game plan because they got clipped because something happened. Let alone at the Misfits level. And I think the entertainment factor, like Keem is saying, is a more important factor that is more important to us than necessarily this like super skillful fight. So when I see that for what Sol Papi did, I mean, look, we got almost 1 million views in the like the after fight highlights. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, it was really good. And Salt did feel a little robbed by Amadeus not getting off the stool for round 4 because he really wanted fighter of the night or knockout of the night. And he said in his very polite demeanor, "Sir, I really wanted the knockout of the night tonight, and I promise I would have given it to you in round 4." And very possibly would have. And maybe that's why Amadeus didn't get off the stool. He said, "I don't feel like getting knocked out."
Yeah. But the thing is, we all knew Amadeus only had 2 rounds in him. We knew that. The typical Polish MMA fighter that comes to box. It's so typical. Like, I just knew it.
Yeah, but he did wobble him, and if he
Yeah, he did.
capitalized on, could have been problems. I mean, I was
Let-
on
let-
the edge of my.
What about Julie? Let's talk about the real superstar. Come on, let's get on to Julie.
Superstar is an understatement. I mean, look, she's working on her English, which I think will magnify her fame tenfold.
Yes.
And we've spoken about that in our WhatsApp group. But this girl is a savage, and she understands the game. I mean, you see her on Twitter; she's not holding back with Dean. Dean and her going back and forth. I think she deserves this spot, and we'll get to the rankings later. But in terms of this fight, Barbie is no slouch. I mean, Barbie
Oh,
brought the.
I think that was the true 50-50 fight on that card.
Yeah,
It was.
I absolutely love that fight, and Julie clearly won, but I want to see it again. I want to see it again because, you know, Barbie is so big. It's like, you know, it's like Julie fighting, you know, Andre the Giant or something. Like it was so fun to watch.
Great fight.
Tough girls, and Barbie. I think Barbie's got room for improvement. I think her coordination wasn't there at times.
She's so big, it's almost difficult for her to coordinate those long limbs. But once she just needs to keep doing it. And that's the thing I'm not sure about is like how much progress she's making between fights. I don't know how much she's practicing because I feel like if she'd been doing it every day, I think we would have seen even more progress. I don't know if that's the case or not, but it doesn't feel like it. And I think her ceiling is huge. The problem is Julie's judgment of distance, maybe some of the best in the whole men and women, the whole of influencer boxing. She knows exactly where to be, when to be there. Her ring IQ, like, is outrageously good for where she's at. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Barbie has been trained. Maybe she overtrained, if anything, because we thought the fight was going to be a month or so earlier. So her camp has been really long.
Yeah.
And I feel for her for that because, you know, obviously dates change and there's nothing we can do about it. But listen, she's got nothing to be ashamed of and would love to see her back. I think she put up a great fight. That was the fight of the night for me personally. And I think it was a great showing from both girls. But
Barbie
Julie,
really stuck it on her. I love the fact that Barbie kept bringing it. That's the hardest bit for everyone who fights Julie is they get into range, they take a few shots, and they're like, I'll see you later. I'm not going to have any more of that. Whereas Bobby kept coming back for more. Julie played matchmaker on Twitter and said Vampira versus Barbie, the battle of the goth chicks. I mean, that would be an epic fight because they both showed major heart against Julie, but she's clearly the queen.
Yeah, I gotta make a quick point about Julie that I feel like was kind of overlooked with this fight week is, you know, obviously her English isn't there yet. And what I wanted her to do, and I whispered it to her in the ring, but it obviously didn't get across because I don't speak Portuguese. But it's like the Brazilian fans love her. They love her. Like her engagement is insane on her social media. And the whole fight week, she didn't say anything in Portuguese. And I was like, bro, let him know. Like, let them know. Like, go on there and just yell into the mic in Portuguese because we are going to have Brazilian fans that are watching this for you. And they're going to want you to be talking to them. And that's this massive fan base that I think that Misfits would thrive in. I mean, in Brazil. And we have this huge star, and she's trying to speak English instead of Portuguese, and she could have done both.
And it's not just the skill, it's not just getting the win, it's the social media activity. Like leading up to this fight, it's video. After the fight, it's like a highlight reel, like right away. Like, you know, this is what all influencer boxers need to do.
Yes.
You're influencers. Like, she really is a leader in multiple aspects.
She's the best.
Yeah, she's up there for sure. And her personality's hilarious. If you watch her Instagram, I don't speak Portuguese, but she's really funny. She's got a sense of humor. I think she's that, you know, again, we'll get to the pound for pound rankings later on, but that's a big factor as well. You know, her fans love her.
And let's not kid ourselves, lads. Can I just point one out? In case you haven't noticed, I'm sure you haven't. She's a very good-looking woman, which isn't going to do us any harm in promoting her. She's got the full package. She's got it all, lads. Just saying.
Not according to Dean on Twitter, but
yeah. Well, good luck with him, huh? You can't please everyone.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe they're in a different height class. You know, sometimes
That is that
maybe
is
they're not a
true.
good match. Hey, I've had that problem. Um, but you know, I think yeah. Moving on to that, King Kenny versus Adam Brooks went pretty much how most people expected. Brooksy put up a great fight. I mean, he went for it. I don't think he had the best game plan, but he had all the heart in the world. And Kenny did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. I think with Brooksy, I think he didn't realize how fast Kenny was.
Oh yeah.
Made him miss a lot of times. Then I think that affected his ego, made him a bit complacent. But the thing is, when you're of that type of age, you have to rely on IQ and timing. And he hasn't been boxing long enough to have IQ.
Yeah, you can't rely on. You definitely can't compete with Kenny's speed. That's for
No.
sure. But he had a lot of volume. Kenny. He put combos together. I think he did a great job. I think that natural the natural sort of progress of this is we got to put King Kenny against Salt Pappy. That's
Yeah.
got to be the number one contendership match. You guys agree?
Yeah, I
100%.
agree. It's overdue
love
that
love
fight.
that fight. Love that fight.
And Pappy's been calling
Yeah.
him out for a long time as well. Kenny hasn't really mentioned Pappy's name. It seemed like this was a confidence building fight for him to move to the next level. And I think the next level's right now.
How
against
long
Pappy.
has it been since Slim got in the ring, lads? I can't even remember now.
Prime card.
Long
7 months,
Okay.
8 months.
Oh, Prime.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Okay, so 7 or 8 months. Like, just for me personally, like if people want to be a Misfits champion, right? So we now need to wait a few months for Kenny and Slim, sorry, Salt Pappy to get it on. By the time they challenge for the title, we could be looking at another 6 months. Like, obviously, we're probably hoping Slim fights before then, but the title defending fighters, it needs to be far more consistent than this, in my opinion. It feels like forever since we've seen that title on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and look, there's injuries and stuff. Jarvis is injured. We know Dean was injured. Slim hasn't been injured. He's been offered main events.
Now though, when your champion refuses every single fight, what do? Just let him keep the belt and just carry on as if nothing. Like, what the hell goes? What the hell
Yeah.
happens now?
we haven't been able to justify a mandatory. That's been the problem. But that's why I'm offering Slim another big fight, hopefully very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wins that fight, he will have to. Whoever wins that fight will have to defend against the winner of Salt Pappy and King Kenny. So I'm hoping to get Slim in one time at least before that happens. And I told him, I left him a message saying, Slim, go and if I were you, your main goal is to make money from this. You could be making millions a year by just fighting. Fight everyone. Be a winning champion. Get your record up. Guys who are starting in pro boxing, they demand if they're a prospect, they demand 5 or 6 or even 7 fights in a year. You know, they want
Which
to
is weird
build their
because that's how Slim started, though, man. Slim was banging fights out. That's why we loved him. The whole point of me loving Slim was like, this guy is always active. He's fighting anyone, last minute, comes in, knocks them out. It was cool as fuck. So to go from that to nothing in 7 or 8 months, it's like, as a fan, I'm like, whoa, I was invested in this. What we doing now?
But
So
not only
he
that, the Slim that we know is constantly calling other fighters out on social media. I just scrolled through his social media right now, and yes, he's active. But it's not calling other people out. It's not trying to set up fights. This is what Slim has done for the last 5 years, ever since there was influencer boxing, constantly making posts, constantly calling people out, and building hype and excitement around his name. I don't see that at all. I see him punching a bag on his Twitter.
But I said this. I left him a voice note and I said, bro, you're a champion. You could be doing amazing things. You could be fighting everyone. You could have 4 or 5 fights a year if you want to. But you should be making content every day, capitalizing, growing. Even if there's 500 people watching you on live, if you're consistent, you guys know this. You're going to have 1,000 soon. Then you'll have 1,200. And it'll keep growing. Was it Jinxie who had like one person watching him for a year, and now he's one of the biggest streamers because he did it every single day? Consistency is key.
The point is it ain't about having a belt. It's about how much money you're bringing in, how many viewers you're bringing in. Conor McGregor was so active and so consistent. All of these fighters are, until the point where they're like, I've made my point now and everyone wants to fight me. That's not where either of those guys are yet. So they need to get themselves into that position before they start playing these cards.
Yes.
Yeah. Or they need to have so much clout that they can have that say-so where they demand, they're like, look, I want to fight this guy, I want to fight that guy.
Okay.
Jake
Well, let's
Paul,
see the
KSI
YouTube numbers. Let's see the YouTube numbers, and then we'll make our minds up on whether the clout's there or not. Because it ain't, is it? That's the
The
reality.
engagement is very low. Their engagement only rises during fight week. Working for
Yeah.
Misfits.
Yeah, you're right. They look, KSI and Jake Paul and Logan Paul and these guys, they didn't get there by luck. They put in the work. They
Yeah.
put in the work daily and did so many enterprising, creative things that got them to a place where they can say, hey, I want to fight this guy. I don't want to fight. You know what I mean? They have the choice of doing that. But the people I love in this space are the ones who are just like, Mams, if you think this is a good fight, I'll take it. Because I'm not trying to screw anyone. I want to put great fights on. We're not in a space of trying to pad records, right? We're in the space of, similar to UFC, you want to put the most competitive fights on. Like this card we just had, it was 2 fights that were perceived as competitive fights against Kenny and Adam Brooks. Yes, Kenny was a favorite, but Adam Brooks was a threat. It wasn't like he was a walk in the park. And Amadeus Ferrari was a threat. You know, even in the ring in the first round, he certainly was a threat. And Salt Pappy did not hesitate. Salt Pappy and his team said they were supposed to fight OJ Rose. We couldn't get that across the line. So we gave him Amadeus Ferrari because that's more of a main event in terms of following and everything else and engagement. And I'm glad it really worked out. But Salt was open to anybody. He said Slim, Kenny, this guy, that guy, and these are the guys you want fighting, and they're the ones who are going to become popular because they're going to gain respect for doing that. You can't be tiptoeing around when you're not even in a place where you have the say-so to tiptoe around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, boss.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I really want them to be huge. I want all of these guys to be huge, and I want them to stay humble at the same time. You know, I think that's an important thing. Put on the character, put on the persona, but when it comes to working and perception of your self-awareness can't be this skewed. You know, look at Julie. Julie is an absolute delight to work with. She's like, get me Ronda Rousey, get me Holly Holm, next year Cyborg. You know, she wants the smoke.
What an animal, bro. Oh my God.
Imagine if Salt had Slim's belt right now. Everything would be different. That title would be defended over and over and over again.
That was his fault, though.
That's his
Yeah.
fault. Him and his
I'm just
team
saying,
fault.
imagine. I'm not saying.
What's the next fight on the list, lads? Before we go on another detour, what's the next one again?
The next one is
Yes.
who else fought that night? Let's have a look.
Missed Ryan Taylor.
Let's talk about
This
Mist.
Ryan Taylor.
Oh yeah.
That was
Another
exciting.
star.
Wow.
Yeah. I think Mist leaned forward a lot, which gave his jab a lot of power, right?
Yes, good stiff jab.
Well, yeah, it was a power jab, for
But
sure.
it's a powerful jab. Leon, you said it might be the most powerful jab in crossover boxing. I second
Yeah, that was a powerful jab. Sent him flying across the ring.
But he was
Yeah.
launching like 100% of his body weight into it. Like he
Yeah.
was that wasn't a jab. He was essentially throwing a left hand as hard as he possibly could. But
The
still.
best compliment I can give this Mist is that I can't wait to watch him fight again. I can't wait to see how he responds when he's in there in a more competitive fight. You know, because we really didn't know anything about his defense after that because it was all out attack from the fucking get-go, wasn't it? And I did feel a bit for Ryan Taylor because it felt like, I don't know if there was weight issues, but it felt like 2 different weight classes. And Ryan did take it like a man. And I know a lot of fighters, you know, we've seen people, not everyone can take a beating like that. And he did keep coming. So I do feel a bit for the guy.
Well,
I give him all
seen
the
a report that Ryan Taylor has retired from influencer boxing. I hope that's not true because he is really entertaining to watch. I mean, he was getting his ass kicked and he just kept getting up. He kept going forward. I mean, that guy has
Same
no
with other
fear.
fighters, though. We've seen him against well, the Slim fight. He kept on coming as well, right? Like he's had
Yeah.
some hard matches. He's had a bit of bad luck there in that sense.
Maybe give him
I
Ginty
think
or something.
against Tom Zanetti would be a good one.
Yeah, that
Ryan
would be a
Taylor.
tough one. Maybe Ginty so he can experience a win.
That's true. Poor Ginty. Everyone
Leon just
I don't
firing
know.
shots off.
Did you guys? So there was an incident with Ginty, as there always is at any Misfits event. Ginty got slapped by Bevo and Bevo's missus at the event. Did you guys hear about this?
I see him tweet something. This guy what is it? Because he's on the liquor? Is he on the beers or something? He just mad.
He says he was sober, but he called Bevo's girlfriend some names.
Oh no!
And
Yeah.
Bevo went up to him and slapped him, and then Bevo's missus went and slapped him really hard. I don't know if you remember the clip where Bevo and what's the other guy's name who slapped him at the airport?
Amio.
Yeah. And all you could hear was his girlfriend going, "Do something," you know, because Bevo didn't know what to do. Amio's a big guy, but yeah, she wants to fight as well. I think she's gonna be quite tough. She's a big girl. I mean, she's tall.
Okay.
Corrected. Very well corrected. Speaking of
Tournament fight, the Argentinian King Puliarif. A lot of controversy on social media. I didn't think it was the wrong decision. I thought the scorecards were wrong though.
One of the judges gave all 5 rounds, right?
Yeah, to Argentina.
Jesus, that is robbery. That, like, I mean,
Insane.
I thought Pulley fought really well early on, and if he'd had a camp, he might have nicked the win there from getting on his bike and jabbing and moving. Like, he did all right there.
Did well.
I agree. How did you score that?
I came out from backstage because I didn't see the first 2 or 3 rounds, I think. I came out from backstage and I asked, I'm like, hey, man, give me the details on what's going on in this fight so far so I can know, obviously. And the first thing, I forget who it was, but someone says to me, he goes, Pulley's up 3 rounds. And we go to the scorecards and they say he didn't win a single round. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to, like that's an insanely different.
The exciting thing about the fight was actually the end of the fight when Joey and the Argentinian King were going back and forward. Joey had been on the beers, as you could probably tell. But the Argentinian King, he's got some funny lines. I'll give him that when he said, you're too ugly to be lightweight champion. I thought that was funny. He's a funny kid, but I mean, it really makes this lightweight tournament exciting now because if we've got Joey through and Joey's having beef with Waleed and now Argentinian King, if Waleed doesn't win, then maybe the Argentinian King can fight him or Waleed can fight Joey. Like there's characters popping out now. That division is really, everyone's got their own unique identity. Like Joey's like the Bisping and, Argentinian King has got real arrogance to his character. I really like those characters.
Argentinian King
Cray and
Yuddy.
Yeah.
Yuddy Gang are on the other side.
Yes, Joey Knight will be facing the winner of Waleed and Ace Musa. So Joey Knight, yes, that's it. Argentinian King will be fighting the winner of Cray and Yuddy Gang.
That's a brutal fight.
Cool.
That's a hard fight for him.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to really not fight the same way. Like he's gonna have to fight way more volume. He's gonna really have to show up if he wants to beat either Cray or Yeti Gang. Like those guys can scrap.
Before we move on, Leon, who did you have winning that fight? I'm very curious.
You know what it was? That fight was a bit boring, so I was on Twitter as well. So I wasn't really. I'll be honest.
It wasn't the most exciting, though. He's right.
I think I was expecting more from that Argentinian King. The way he talks, he talks a big game. But all right, at least give Paulie 2 rounds. At least the third one's up to debate, but at least 2 rounds. I was very impressed by his effort.
I think it was solid 2 for Argentinian King, solid 2 for Pulley, and there might have been a round on.
Yeah, the third round was the swing round in my head.
But correct me if I'm wrong, guys. When I was watching that fight, I was watching the way Argentinian King was moving, and the way he was moving looked like a pretty crisp boxer, right? Like his footwork was on point, his defense was on point, but then he just wasn't able to. One, he didn't pull the trigger. There was a lot of opportunities where I was like, throw your punches. Like you have him where you want him. And two, I think that he just didn't have the ring IQ to be able to figure out such an awkward fighter in Pulley. Like Pulley, so he moves
range
so weird.
as well. The range,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And also, I think he was nervous. Straight up, I think he was nervous because it just didn't look like he was willing to. Maybe he got clipped with something that hurt him a bit more than he expected, but I don't know. It just didn't. It like he looked like he was better than he was fighting. That's how I was reading it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Finally, our heavyweight champion retained his belt. George Groves sat next to me, gave him a big compliment. He's like, this guy looks like a proper heavyweight boxer. Did really well. Yes, Brian, I see you there. He did call you out after that. What's
He
that
did
about?
call me out, bless him. I do like him, so it's a weird thing when someone calls you out and you're like, I kind of like this guy. But then he did another interview like, oh, is he making excuses? And I thought, I'll be honest, if I was advising this guy, I'd say, call out people who you might actually be able to fight one day. Like, because you've got your opportunity, the whole world's around you, like, finally giving you some attention. You've got a chance to build a fight. Chase Demua, the whole heavyweight division, think that he probably won that fight. In my opinion, I thought Chase Demua beat him. Go and reclaim that win. Like, actually do something that you can do. Because if I'm ever going to fight on Misfits, it's going to be on my terms. I'm already sitting there going, I'll chase Temple Watts wants to fight us. Can't turn down this opportunity, can I? He's a 19-year-old kid. I've never seen a YouTube video from. I don't know anything he does. I've got no idea how this. I don't mean this disrespectfully, but like, there's big fish, and then there's people who I don't even see you, pal. Do you know what I mean? So, I think get yourself in there with Chase Demua and actually beat the shit out of him, and then make yourself the actual heavyweight champion.
You know what's actually funny?
A big name for himself.
I haven't heard him call out arms. He's called out True Geordie. He hasn't called out arms or any other heavyweights.
He's calling out some. I'm not even fucking boxing, mate. Do you know what I mean? And like, if I was boxing, and I swear down on my life, lads, I couldn't design a person to beat up better than this guy. He's perfect for me. I mean, he's literally tailor-made. He's short, he's slow. I'd jab his head into oblivion. And I probably need to do about a week of jogging for that. So he does need to watch himself a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because if I decide, Mams, actually, I'll have a 5-fight deal, he'd be first on the list and he'd be the easiest. And if I didn't beat him up very quickly and easily, I'd quit immediately on the spot.
Fans, you got to clip that. That's a
There
good
you go.
promo.
Let him know.
Fighting word.
It's honestly, I'm not even just saying this. Like, I swear to God, on my life, I could not design a fighter who'd be easier for me to beat the fuck out of.
If you had a 5-fight deal, who would 2, 3, 4, and 5 be, Geordie?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Man, out here stirring the pot.
I mean, if Andrew Tate wasn't locked up, he'd be the first actually, because I'd want Andrew Tate because I'd want to expose him for the fake fighter that he is. Like, especially them, he's got these flimsy little hands. He can't actually like punch properly. He'd be number one because I'd want people to not know what they're getting, and I'd want to shock him, and then I'd put him out, and then I'd clean the rest of Misfits up. Just saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, True Geordie calling out more people than
I better
Slim.
start jogging. I better start jogging just in case Mams puts a massive check in front of us, and I'm like, you know what? I've got to fucking do this here.
I will say, I think Tate can fight. I think Tate can fight.
He can kickbox, but I don't think he can punch very well. And his kickboxing was debatable at best.
He's awkward. But listen, I'd pay to see that fight. I'd pay to see you against Bradley Martin as well. I think that's one people have talked about for a while.
I like Bradley. Yeah, I don't think me and Bradley will ever happen. I don't know. I just don't feel like that's. It's just. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't feel like it's going to happen. That I don't think Bradley's going to box.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, that's it though. He did a good job. He's got an iron chin, Tempo Arts. He took.
Come on, let's be honest though. Let's look at who like, I'm not just being a prick here because he called us out. Ben, I thought would have brought a lot more. Like, Ben really, the fact that Ben barely threw punches. Come on, man.
Agreed, but the punches he connected with were he got him flush on the chin with a couple of hooks.
Yeah.
And he shook it off well, is all I'm saying. But I was
Tempo looked good. Tempo looked good. He threw some good shots, man. Threw a lot of shots, hooks, uppercuts, straights. Yeah, he done what he's supposed to do again. But I thought that Ben was going to bring it, but he didn't. Yeah.
Overall, a great night. I think you guys know in the group chat was about an hour before the fights. I said, should I put Anthony Taylor on stage and do this and a little promo? I think
this
I
was the
really-
most ironically funny bit of the night, wasn't it? It was weird because me and Todd are on commentary, right? In the show, and me and Todd look at each other, and Todd goes, "Who is this?" And I go, "I don't know." I forgot. We didn't know what his name was. No one had sort of told him the name and what was going on, so we could have helped that, but we were lost.
Todd literally said
Yeah.
it on comms. Todd's
Oh,
like, "Who's
shit.
that guy?"
Oh,
It
shit.
was so funny.
Because the Undertaker music, we're now used to Pineda, so now we're
Yeah.
like, well, who
We're
the
done
fuck
with-
is this coming out? We need to
That's
retire
exactly
the
what I
Undertaker
thought.
music.
The
That's
Undertaker
exactly what I
music done.
thought.
The next time you hear the Undertaker music, it will be the Undertaker. Otherwise, no one else.
No, it has to be Luis
Um,
Pineda again. We need to rebrand it somehow to just
We got to
Luis
rebrand it.
Pineda.
I honestly, if I had more time to think of something, I could have done something more with that, because Samuel Erickson he's a force. He's a karate combat vet. He's he's been on Joe Rogan a number of times for his kicks and all that stuff. The clips of him kicking. He's unbelievable. It played out differently in my head. So I put my hands up. I take responsibility. Anthony Taylor, he's got to stop trying to be The Rock, and he's got to start being Anthony Taylor. I think that will be more entertaining for people on the
You know what?
mic as well.
This is the result, and I know we've talked at length about this with Anthony. So I feel for him, but like the reason people don't care, because we can be honest about this, nobody cares, and he needs to change that. It really needs to be said out in the open. People don't care because of his previous fights. When you've beaten people, you haven't beaten them up. You've just, you've sent the audience to sleep and hugged your way to wins. And now, here's what happened is, yeah, you got the belt. Yeah, you got to raise your hand in the air. But the cost of that is what you're feeling now, where you're on the microphone. And Anthony's a good talker. He's not a bad talker at all. But no one cares because we're like, we don't really want to see you fight anymore. And that's what he needs to change moving forward. His next fight has to be good. Otherwise, it's like, you're actually taking up space in Misfits. You're actually not helping the show. You're actually hindering it because no one wants to see you and no one is interested. And you need to turn that around desperately now.
Yeah,
He's
he needs
absolutely
to grow
promised.
outside the company.
Yeah. He's not going to hug anymore. He's promised. So hopefully, we'll see
I mean,
more action.
if he does go in there and hug, I'd fire him for that. And I say this as someone who likes him because Misfits is entertainment. It ain't a sport. This is about entertaining people. And if you can't do that, then why are you here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, look, he will never say no to a fight. He'll never say no to a fight.
But he does though.
listens.
He does though. He says no the minute he walks through them ropes, mate. That's the problem.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
That's a good line. That's a great point. I mean, he talks like he fights like Justin Gaethje, and then he just
Bro,
smothers people.
you
right?
literally do the opposite of fighting. You do everything you can to not fight. And look, you got the cash, you got the sunglasses, you got the attitude, but no one's responding to you in the crowd, mate. It's a serious problem for your career. That.
Yeah.
But he
Well,
has it. He has the ability to be a fighter like that because he has an incredible chin. He throws hands. So I think that in his next fight, if he does what he says he's going to do, win or lose, his stock will go up. Like if we see him fight in a high risk environment where he's taking shots clean across the chin and he's walking through them, or even getting sat down and getting back up and showing us that he's also got that dog in him, instead of focusing on getting the wins, which is what he's been doing, then he could turn around like that, in my opinion. I don't think the ship has sailed, is what I'm saying. I think he can absolutely still reprove himself.
Agreed.
For sure.
Agreed.
Try hugging Amadeus Ferrari if you're 18. You know.
Get a headbutt.
So
Yeah.
okay. So that's 14. We'll get to, let's recap 15 very quickly. Obviously, Paige Van Zandt, Elle Brook, very exciting. There's going to be a lot more information unraveled about 16 in conjunction with those fights. I can't say more than that really right now, but who do we have winning between Elle and Paige?
I got Paige.
I think Elle can do it. I think Elle can do it. As long as she doesn't get nervous and she does what Tibbs has been teaching her to do, knows how to set up them shots, especially on the back foot, she can win this fight by knockout or stoppage.
I got Elle Brook too. I think Elle Brook beats her. Paige Van Zandt's never won a boxing match, and I don't see it happening. She just doesn't seem to have any power in her hands. Yeah, it's just she doesn't seem as disciplined as she used to be. She doesn't seem to have power in her hands, and it just doesn't seem to translate to her. Because I think that in Paige's head, she's the professional fighter. She's a UFC fighter, you know, and so maybe she takes that to the bank too much. When it's like, well, you know, you'd be surprised. Then you'd be surprised.
What does this do for Elle's career if she gets the win convincingly?
It makes her legitimate for sure. It puts a stamp down on like this girl's serious now. I am interested because like we've seen male YouTubers fight MMA guys, and we kind of know, all right, this gap can be closed actually if you've got that natural athleticism. But female MMA, I don't know how that's going to translate, because when I seen Paige and bare knuckle, for all she was getting clipped by that black-haired girl, the karate, I think she has karate background. She was getting clipped, but like Paige showed she was fucking tough in that fight. So
Tough.
I'm interested to see, and also there's a height advantage. There's like a size advantage for Paige as well. So like I'm interested to know the skill level, because I do rate I hear really good things about Tibbs and the coaching. So we're gonna get questions answered. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously Tristan Ham and Le'Veon Bell, they're getting very personal. It's like Kendrick and Drake going back at each other with not as effective bars, but but yeah, that's
I love that
Bell,
fight.
Bell's favorite. Yeah, it's a
I
good
love
fight.
Tristan Ham and Le'Veon Bell. I think Tristan is proper. I think, you know, he's got a great team behind him. He's super naturally athletic. He's a dog. Like anyone that hunts bears is he's all right to fight in a ring, you know? And so it's like it's definitely I thought we were gonna have trouble finding a good opponent for him, because he's got so much power and he's so good. And then Le'Veon Bell, it was the same issue, right? He's so talented and he's so athletically gifted that I think them two in the ring, it's gonna come down to boxing ability. I think it's gonna be they're both animals, they're both athletes, they both are similar in that level. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell's, you know, got way more athletic acumen behind him as well. But it's going to come down to like who's able to translate their boxing skill the best in the ring, and it really excites me. I'm pumped for that fight.
100%, 100%. All right, last thing to talk about. There's a lot of controversy about the pound for pound top 10, which is a unisex pound for pound. You know, Nikki Rue, she's our lightweight women's champion. She's number 10. Tempo Arts heavyweight champion. He's number 9. He's defended the title. Not many have defended their title successfully. Jarvis, he's the welterweight champ. And then Salt Pappy is number 7. I think people forget this is not pure skill. It's skill, ability to win a fight as one category. Drawing power, star power as another category. And then 3 is the level of opponents, maybe a little bit lower ranked. But that's
which is why
too.
it can be unisex, because we're not just grading on fighting ability, and therefore you can be unisex. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we've got Salt Pappy. I think you know, the crowd chanting, sold out on the day of, you know, or actually while the event was going on. The last we had some walk-ins. Event sold out. A lot of people came to see Salt. He's got star power. Now, if he capitalizes and keeps winning fights, I think he will be. He can go beyond where he was pre the losses. You know, AT number 6 because he's beaten Salt Pappy and Kenny, of course. Elbrook, I think, a well-deserved number 5. We all spoke about this. We went back and forth on the WhatsApp group, and here's where the controversy is on Twitter: is the top 4. So we've got Slim at number 4, and the reason for that is, I think, and Dean at number 3. And it's just the inactivity. Dean, not through a fault of his own initially, because he was injured. He's been offered 2 fights since then. That I see him calling people out on Twitter, so I try to make those fights. But that's not what he really wants. So, you know, we're going to make a fight for Dean very soon. He's got a couple of fights left with us, so we're going to make sure that happens. And then obviously fight the winner of the tournament as well. But well-deserved 3rd spot. He's, you know, shown tremendous skill. Slim as well, but he's turned down a lot of fights, been inactive. And Julie Poker has incredible engagement. She's a superstar. Her star quality exceeds those guys because she makes content that's funny and engaged, and her fans love her. She's got millions of fans, basically. She gets, 300, 400,000 likes and thousands of comments on her page. And they're not those emojis you pay for, They're legitimate people engaging with her, wanting to talk to her and she's got star quality that beats the rest of the roster up till that point, I think. Her ability to win fights, she's proven herself. She's never turned down a fight. She's fought 2 tough fights in her last 2 fights. She fought Elle Brooke before that. Her level of competition has been great for what's on offer. I think that's a well-deserved spot.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and then people are questioning, why is KSI number 1? Again, the star power. And if there's a challenge of why KSI is number 1, this is the place for it. The small council. If anyone contested that, we can always look at that. The reason he's number 1 is he has shown ability to win fights. He did a tremendous job against Tommy Fury. Most people thought he won, and or had a draw.
We don't have to justify this, do we? It's Tommy Fury. He fought a proper boxer, and he's the biggest star by a country mile. That's it, right? Like, what the fuck else have we got to say about this? This is insane.
But they think we're being biased. They think, it's KSI's promotion, so we have to put him to number 1. We won't.
So who below KSI has better wins than him? No one. Who's a bigger star than him? No one.
Yeah. When it comes to star power, it's overshadowed.
To justify the KSI point, I would say just shut up. Whoever's saying, like, just shut up. Like, you're full of it, right? Like, obviously, like, that's so obvious. Water's wet.
So obvious.
We're against the earth because
there's only one man who we could only Jake Paul who we can even throw out there who isn't in Misfits, who you could even compare him to. That's it.
And then Julie Polka, to remind people, sorry, Keem, but to remind people, Brazil is a whole ass country with 200 million people in it. Okay, you combine the rest of these guys' social medias together, and she gets that kind of engagement. This is a humongous star. So obviously she's number 2. And she just fought someone who's like 6 feet tall. You made 145 pounds via a miracle, I'm imagining, and made it happen. Like, that fight was a dog fight. So no, I find those completely justifiable. And the thing too is, like, if someone's number 3, it doesn't mean that they're miles away from number 2. Maybe they're right there, but they're not. They're not number 2. Julie Polka is number 2, and KSI is, you know what? He is a few miles away from number 2. All right. So that is what it is. But sorry, Keem.
I would say this: if Elle beats Paige, I'll put her number 3.
Yep. I agree with that.
It makes sense that Dean's above Slim, though, because at least Dean is calling people out on Twitter. Yeah, at least he's doing that much. He might not be taking the fights, but at least he's doing that.
I just want to shake both of them and tell them, look, this is how you can be massive. Listen to me. This is for your benefit. You can be massive stars. Do A, B, and C consistently all the time. And you'll elevate beyond your expectations. Why can't they just do that?
Well, you cannot be offered 8 fights or however many it was, turn down every single one of them, and then go, why am I not number 1? Because there's 8 people that you didn't prove you were number 1 against. You can't do that. You just can't do that.
I think Slim hasn't responded to the rankings, but I think Dean was visibly upset about being number 3. But I root for these guys to be number 1, KSI too. We want people to exceed what KSI brings to the table on Misfits. That's great for business if they can.
Am I right in thinking Dean's last main wins were against Pulley and then Waleed again?
He had a tag team match as well.
All right, yeah. So that's it though. Like, I mean, what is there left to say? That's it. I say no more. I rest my case.
Waleed is tough though.
Waleed is tough, but like, Julie's out here fucking banging out left, right, and center undefeated fighters, and ones where she's massively undersized against, which is a point of pound for pound, by the way. The size discrepancy, that's the whole point of it. You can do it against bigger people. She's out here proving it while getting more engagement in a single day than you probably get in a fucking 2-month period, mate. I got
Leaving the
nothing.
ring with no injuries, no bruises. Yeah,
She looks
big up that
perfect.
Amazonian.
And
Try
I
and
don't
shoot
know if
his
you saw,
shot.
she had a big flu coming on fight night as well. You
Didn't
know?
give a shit.
She did not give a shit, and she didn't let anybody know. You know, she came
Man.
for battle.
I will say I would love for the day that KSI goes down to number 2 because I know his ego would not let that happen and we'd get to see him fight again. We'd get to see him fight.
Oh my God. Dust off the gloves immediately.
Yeah, you're like, nah, that's not happening.
Maybe we should do
KSI
that and get the fight on quicker.
Yeah.
Off camera, I've got to ask you guys. We got to talk about that. There's KSI fighting again, but that's another story.
Oh, leave it on a cliffhanger, mams. I like it.
We'll leave it on a cliffhanger. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you again.
Nice.